Hello, Stroke Lines. In this video we're going to cover three things from Excel: the MRU list, most recently used list, freezing panes, and toggling updating the screen. So let's start off here with the freeze panes one. I have a function down here which basically says, hey, first turn off the status of freeze panes, and then if the row is blank, that's all you do is just turn it off and return, so it's going to stop going. So if you pass on my function, if you don't pass a value for the row, it'll just turn off freeze panes. If there is a value there, it'll continue on, and then basically it's going to select the range and then freeze it. And so then, just depending if you pass a value here or here, it'll either freeze the rows or columns. I put A in here as the constant, so it'll start at the first. Also, I indexed because it'd be one row off. So if you put 1, it would have not been any 2, it would have had to been on 1, so it's freezing beneath it, but in my head that just doesn't make sense, so I added 1 to it. But if you don't like that, then don't include this. So let's do a little demo here of how it works. So I'm gonna launch my script. There we go. Let's get rid of the output window. And first off, obviously you got to get a handle to the pointer to Excel, and as I said, of course I don't have freeze panes on. Let me in here. There we go. So now I've frozen the panes, and I'm going to run my script. Hopefully you can see that color there, and there, it just turned it off. Alright, so let's comment that one out, and now I'm going to say freeze the first row and the first column. So save it, reload, launch. So now you can see when I scroll here, or, wow, that's a long thing, to the right, the A and that one stays. I'll comment that out. Now I'm going to freeze just column A, right, so I don't have any rows being frozen, so I passed 0, right, so I want 0 rows frozen. Let me go ahead and show here. So if I added a 2 here, right, now it's going to keep the top 2 there, right, and that's why to me it's much more intuitive to say 2, but for some reason the columns, for me, I don't think that way. So I'm going to freeze A means it's off, but B, and maybe it makes more sense, but B, yeah, maybe I'll change that to say to add 1 to it, and that way it's going to include that, which is just makes more sense to me. But that's it for the freeze panes. Hey, turn that off. Now, let's go on to the toggling the screen. So this one, the screen updates. So when you do a lot of stuff programmatically in Excel, let me go ahead and get rid of this too. Oh, it is collapsed. Okay. When you do stuff in Excel, if you leave the updating screen on, it'll show you, and you'll see it kind of looks like magic, right, of what's happening, but that also takes a lot of resources. You wouldn't think it, but it takes a lot of resources to refresh the screen view. And so here, what I've got is, right now the screen is being updated, and I wrote this little script just to see, right, I indexed over these, and you saw it update. Now I have a sleep in here, just so we can see it and doesn't blink, otherwise it's so fast, right? Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, and let me go ahead and turn off freeze panes. Alright, well they're off now. I'll comment that out. So, what this function does is it's just a toggle, right? So I'm going to put in the handle to the pointer there, and of course I want to turn it back on. Otherwise, if I just did this, it would turn it off and it wouldn't update it, but then it would just sit, it would seem like it's sitting there, but nothing really happens, right? I mean, sorry, it's done, but it never updates the screen, and so I need to turn it back on. And so in this one, what's going to happen here is I'm turning off the screen updating. It's going to go do all this stuff, and then it's going to turn it back on, and so basically it should just blink. So save, reload, and then when I launch, notice how it didn't iterate over it, right? It just did it all and then did it. Now, that's still artificially slow because my sleep is in here, but when you're doing a lot of stuff where you're programmatically, setting a lot of values, creating functions, adjusting column widths and setting formatting, that stuff takes a lot of resources for Excel to be displaying the results to you. So I still, when I'm developing my code, I leave it on, but when you're done doing all the developing and everything, turning off the screen update makes a huge difference. I was really surprised. It really makes a big difference on the speed of the everything getting applied. The other interesting thing is when you open a file with AutoHotkey, let me show you here. All this is doing, the screen update, is just basically saying get the current value and then change it to whatever it's not. Right, so it's just a toggle. The most recently used, when you access a file in Excel via AutoHotkey, where's my recent? They stupid change. They keep changing these menus. Open. Okay, now it's on. It used to be anyway. So if you open a file in Excel, it with AutoHotkey, it does not show up in here. This gets triggered off of actually, like if I say, wrong thing. So let me see. Let me open a file. I think this is the file that's in my example. So I just open that, and now when I come in here and under open, you'll see it's here, right? It's been listed. Let me go ahead and close this one. Now I'm going to remove this, so I just removed it from the list. But when I open that with AutoHotkey, it doesn't show up in here, and it's annoying if you're expecting it to. So this function, what it'll do is it'll add that, it'll interject it into there. So let me come up here. Those are all commented out. I am going to now, this is what's going to happen. Oh, I need to save it and reload. Now when I come in here, notice right here, diet's not listed. Now watch when I hit my hotkey. Bam, it throws it in here and tells Excel to say, no, I just accessed whatever. So theoretically, you don't even have to have accessed it, right? You're just interjecting the path of that file into here, and that way, when you go to open it, it's in your last previous one. There's probably a way to pin it too, but I didn't play with that. And that's it. I hope it helps. Thanks.